I can hear something calling. It's calling me every day. If taking a chance is a crime, then I've got hell to pay. I've been walking the streets in my mind, trying to find a new day. Keep on searching until I will find, until I find a new way. I'm gonna say something, I hope you don't mind. It's time to rearrange. I walk round in circles, I'm going nowhere. It's time to make a change.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Charles Wallace. Today's guest joins me all the way from the UK. He's a transformational mindset coach, and we had an extremely poignant discussion regarding human potential, ideas, thought, energy, and many other topics. Really excited to bring you my interview with Tom Godfrey. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Charles. It's great to be here. Thanks again for having me on. Really nice to see you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. So, Tom, I thought you'd be a really interesting guest to have on for the audience, and I'm not going to steal any of your thunder here because I probably wouldn't do it justice. So I want to let you give a brief introduction of yourself before we get started.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I'm in the UK, and man, I'm a mindset coach. I call myself a transformational mindset coach. I qualified a couple of years ago. Kind of a big shift for me. I was a career guy. I was a lifelong 25-year career guy. And I got to a point when I guess I started to ask questions about what I was doing. And I started to realize that I wasn't fulfilled and I wasn't happy. And I started to explore that and decide what I wanted to do. And I kind of took the leap. I walked away from my career and I set up my own mindset coaching practice. And now I work with people who are really ready to find out what they're capable of, I think is the best way to describe it. I'm a great believer in human potential. I'm a great believer in the power of the mind. And I'm a great believer that our mind is for us to master and not the other way around. And I guess that informs the basis of my coaching philosophy and my coaching practice.
Yeah, Tom, I definitely reading up on your bio and seeing some of your content on social media. It was definitely, stage of my life now, being 52. I am a career guy still, right? So this definitely was of interest to me. Would you mind maybe going a little bit more into the story, like what behind the whole transformational journey? What, the whole feeling unfulfilled to now becoming a mindset coach?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I still need to figure the story out to be able to tell it. And this is something I'm learning to do. The best way, and I met someone yesterday and I was kind of having this same conversation. The best way I can tell it is I got to a point where the fear of the unknown became less than the fear of not finding out. So I got to this point where I started to look ahead. And I started to look ahead, looking back. And I thought, man, I don't want to get to the end of my life and have regret. This was the big one for me. It was regret. It was the fear of regret. And I guess I'd always had a sense of kind of unfulfillment, kind of, like I say, I was a career guy. So I was kind of following the path of what I thought success was and what I knew it to be. I didn't really know much different. And I was kind of successful by the metrics of corporate, I don't know, man, corporate identity or something like that. So I worked in finance, I worked in business analysis, I worked in sales, I worked in healthcare, mental health care. I kind of enjoyed what I did, but reflecting back, I was kind of always playing a bit of a character. I was always kind of playing up to the role that I was, kind of playing my job title to a certain degree. And I guess we all do that. That's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it was this sense of, man, I don't want to leave anything on the table, or I don't want to look back and say what if. I think it was something like that. And that was terrifying, right? Because I don't know what the unknown is. I don't know where to start. I just knew I couldn't. Like I say, the fear became less than the fear of not finding out. I think that's the easiest way to put it. I don't know. Does that resonate at all?
Really does. And you might have set a record for me, man. You something you said already took me away from the script that I laid out.
That's good.
I always lay something out, man, but it never sticks to it. And there was a line you just had there, and I wanted to touch on it a little bit, and it was interesting to me. And if I misquote it, please let's jump in and correct me. But you said you had to look ahead in order to look back. What can you touch on that a little bit? Because I think that's really poignant.
Yeah, okay. Perhaps it was the first time I'd looked ahead. Yeah, perhaps that's what it is. So I got to my 40s. Honestly, I was unhappy. I can't say I was unhappy with my wife. I love my wife. I love my sons. I'm very grateful for my family, but I was unhappy. I was unfulfilled. I started to look ahead. I started to think, man, what is this? Like, what am I doing? Like, am I doing something wrong? What am I missing? Is it me? What is it? What is it that doesn't make sense? So I started to look ahead. What if I do nothing? Okay, so that was the question. What if I do nothing? Okay, I'm gonna have a decent career. I'm gonna look back. So yeah, there was a point when that started to happen. I don't know, man. Like some people call it a midlife crisis. I guess it happens at some point where you start to look ahead. Mm-hmm. What am I going to be when I'm 80? When I'm 90? How am I going to? And you start thinking about, well, I love this idea that people don't remember what you said; they remember how you made them feel. Right? That whole thing. I'm a huge fan of Bob Proctor. I don't know if you're aware of him. He's a I guess philosopher. He died a couple of years ago. His whole thing was about the idea of the impression of increase. This very simple idea that everyone you meet in life, you can leave them a little better off. Just the impression of increase. It's not a big deal, but it's tiny, but it's huge. And I love that idea. So how do people remember you? Like what have you done? What have I done? What am I going to be remembered for? Right. And it's not like a sort of, I don't think it's an ego thing. I think it's like, well, come on, man. Like what have I added? Right. What have I actually added? So I think it was that kind of thing. It was kind of looking back. Like, I don't want to look back and go, man, you could have done something, or you could have at least found out, or something like that. And what I mean by finding out is really finding the courage to, I guess, be more honest with myself about who I am and what I want to do and what I can do and what I'm not. And I don't know. So yeah, I didn't want to have regret.
Yeah, and I think right now people are watching this show, right? Because I know I am right now, and I'm like, yeah, hey, I kind of feel that way also. I think it's just natural to feel that way, Hell, if I'm being honest, Tom, I think that's why I started this podcast, a couple of years back. It was, let me see if I can try to do something to impact people. How do you help people, though? Because I think that fear, right? You touched on fear. And I think when we talk about it and think about it, the fear is real, right? The fear of the current, the fear of, if I try to do something more that maybe I love, am I going to screw up what I have? How do you kind of get to that point where you said it, where that fear of not knowing outweighed the fear of all the bad things that could potentially happen by going for it?
You know what? The question I'm asking is, why does it have to wait until that point? Because this is the thing, right? I think I only did something because I kind of felt I didn't. It was almost like it was a tipping point kind of thing, right? It was kind of like the least worst option. I don't think it has to get to that stage. Like I think that's good. I think that's great. If and a lot of the people that I coach kind of have reached a point of kind of desperation, and I think that's a good thing. If it inspires action, I think that's fantastic. But I don't even think it has to get to that stage. And I think the only reason really we do, and I can only speak from my experience and from the people that I've met and coached and just everyone I've spoken to, I think the primary reason we do get to that stage is because we never get clear. We never ask ourselves the question, who am I becoming? Mm. And to me, that's the most powerful question, because we kind of think we know who we are. We kind of know what we do, and we sort of know the direction we're going in. And some people have a really clear idea, but who am I becoming? Like if I could choose, let's just say for 1 second that we get to choose how our life goes. I know this is the extreme, right? But let's just say we get a blank sheet of paper and we say, how would I most like to describe myself? And let's start there. If I get to choose, what's most important to me? And pick 3 words. And this is an exercise I do with my clients. It's like, well, what is important? Like, how do you want to describe yourself? You get to choose what's most important. And some people, most people say, well, I want to be happy. That's the first thing, right? I want to be loved. I want to be respected. Or I want to be successful, or whatever it is. But then even just by doing that, we can then start to get clear on, well, all right, what does that look like? And we don't have to like rip up everything that we are and then start afresh, but we can start to say, okay, I know exactly what's important to me. And then I can start to make small steps and just make very subtle shifts. And what it does when we get clear on this question, who am I becoming? And we understand why it's important to us. Every decision we make, every single decision we make, we can make through that lens, because we've got conscious awareness of who it is that we're, of kind of our direction a little bit. I don't even know that answered the question. I can't remember what the question was.
No, it does. And, it's an interesting exercise you do. So I guess what I would counter with is this. When you said that, and I think for me, and it might be this way for a lot of people, when you said what's most important, where we go, what are we becoming? But then we go, what's most important? As soon as you said that to me, man, family just popped in my head, right? So then I go, family, most important. If what I'm becoming doesn't totally make me happy, or I'm happy, but it's what I am is probably still what's best for others. How do we balance what is best for us to help us become better people, to evolve, while still balancing that responsibility of like who we are to others?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's an amazing question. And that's the heart of it, right? And I'm not even going to pretend I've got the answer there. I think an important thing to remember is, all right, so the obvious answer to that is we have to put ourselves first, only in the sense that if we don't look after ourselves, we're no good to others. So I think that's a very, very important point to remind people of. And this is one that comes up over and over again, is that we putting others first, putting our family first is noble. However, if we don't put ourselves somewhere on the list, we're no good to anyone. So that's kind of obvious, but it's a really important point to remind people that self-care is not selfish. It's kind of the most important thing, but it isn't selfish. It's a really difficult paradox, that one, because you can't just spend all day, every day working on yourself and then ignoring everyone around you and ignoring your friends and family. But by the same token, you have to, maybe a better way to put it is stop putting yourself last, because a lot of people think that it's very noble to put everyone else first, but you've got to put yourself first in the right way. You've landed on a really important balance, and I don't know the right answer to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like what you said though about don't put yourself last, because, and I think, for me at least, I've found at least somewhat of the balance. Still trying to balance it out. I think we all are, but it's an interesting point, and I like the way that you approach it. So when I came across you, the word that jumped out to me was transformational. So how do you define that to people, Tom, the transformational coaching, and like what would you tell people how's it have an impact on individuals?
Yeah. So for me, it's about it's kind of about first of all, it's about making a decision. It's about making a decision that I want to change. Something is wrong, something needs letting go of, something needs adding, something's missing, I feel stuck, whatever that is, right? Change is sought. I believe the only change we can affect is internal. I truly believe that. But then in doing so, that's how we can then affect the world, others, our surroundings. But I think we have to understand ourselves first, and we have to kind of almost reconcile ourselves first to be able to then help others, lead others, inspire others, whatever that looks like. So transformation for me is about turning your awareness inwards and looking at maybe the parts of yourself you don't even want to look at, and then realizing that actually, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Even just being able to say that. A lot of my clients, very successful, but when we get into it, just being able to say I'm okay is transformational in itself. Being able to say that and mean it. So for me, transformation was a mindset shift that I need to change. I'm not happy. That was a big thing to admit to myself, because there's kind of shame attached with that. There's kind of like, is there something wrong with me? You know, being okay, I'm not happy, and I deserve to be happy. That idea. I made a lot of sort of specific changes. I let go of bad habits. For me, habits are a huge thing, and this ties into the question around transformation. I believe we are our habits. Who we are today is our future self, and we get to choose our habits today. We get to choose our habits in each moment, and when we intentionally choose our habits, we're able to transform. We're able to let go of old habits that are no longer serving us, no longer serving the person that we're becoming, no longer serving the people around us. And so transformation, it's letting go more than anything. It's letting go of the old story. Every time you meet someone, right? What's your story? What's your story? And the thing is with the story is we're telling our own story on repeat every day in our subconscious. We're just telling it over and over and over again. It's the same old story. And every time we tell it, it ends in the same place. It always brings us back to here and now. So a big part of transformation is really assessing our self-image, assessing the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves, and saying, well, actually, how is this serving me? How is this serving those around me? How is this serving the person I'm becoming? So I think a lot of transformation comes from shifting your beliefs about yourself, because beliefs are only ideas. Every single belief we've got began its life as an idea. And then at some point we internalized it as a belief and we stopped questioning it. But they're all just ideas.
Man, you hit so many things there, Tom. Thank you. That was I can't.
I went off piste.
I can't wait. I can't wait to sit back and listen to it again. One thing you said there that I found really interesting was, and I never thought of it this way, but you said we have to reconcile ourselves. I thought that was an interesting and a poignant way to put it. I don't think we ever think about that, and I think. The habits, everything there was a lot there. I'm looking forward to hearing that back myself. Tom, do you find in your experience in coaching, even in life, I mean, I feel like I've always been guilty of this. I feel like we really overcomplicate things. It even becomes that way with our own self-awareness, our own self-assessment, things like that. So, and I know this might be difficult to answer specifically, but I want to try to get you to do it. Um, was there one kind of simple choice that you could say changed your life that you would say, you know what, this choice I see more often than not, this is the kind of choice that will change others' lives?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I can zone it into one choice. It was the choice to stop making excuses and to take full accountability for how I feel.
Mm.
I can't put it any plainer than that. So, and to put it in a slightly different way, it was the choice to stop looking out there for the reasons for how I feel in here.
Mm.
And that was it. No more excuses. So basically saying if everything, if all my outcomes and all my results are my responsibility, what does that look like? And it might not be the case, but let's live that way and see what happens, right? Let's stop making excuses and see what happens. So that was the start of it for me. Yeah.
Man, amen to that, man. I think, for me, that was probably the biggest thing where I just finally had to realize, you know what, it's my own damn fault. I literally, Tom, when I kind of made my change a few years back, that's kind of what it got to. It was like, you know what, you dumbass, it's your own damn fault.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. So great lead in though, right? Because I think that's a tough thing for people, and some people approach it differently, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah. It's terrifying.
I think I'm at a point now, still not fully there, but it sounds like you're there too.
Not fully there.
Accountability,
Not fully there, man.
accountability is a dirty word to some people.
Yeah.
They hate that word.
Yeah.
And I find that I think people find it's much easier for them to find all the reasons that aren't them as to why they are where they are, who they are, what they are, right? How do you approach that in your coaching to get people to focus on the accountability aspect of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's the heart of it. You've okay. I believe it. So the way I was trained as a coach is all about being client led. And I believe it. I believe this is the power in coaching. I believe this is where it differs from mentoring. This is where it differs from therapy and counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is all about the theory is, and I believe this is my foundational belief about coaching, you have the answers inside of you. So when I'm working with a client, although I believe the answer is accountability, I'm not going to tell them where they find that in themselves. I'm not going to say this is what you've got to do. So to answer your question, how does someone come to accountability? It has to come through self-inquiry. That's the only, this is my opinion, that's the only way it can stick. And that, because what that looks like in you, in your mind, in your heart, in your how you process, in your subconscious, in whatever needs reconciling, right? Wherever accountability is found, whatever that needs to look like so that it sticks, that has to come about through self-inquiry. So all of my, I guess, my method, my process, the coaching journey, it has to, however it comes about, it has to come about through their own inquiry. So my role as a coach is to facilitate the space that allows them that inquiry to get to that place. And it doesn't always happen because you have to be ready for what you're committing to, and you have to get to that place where you realize, okay, this is the step I have to take, and this is what accountability looks like to me. So I can't prescribe accountability to anyone. And also, this is why accountability partners definitely work, but I think there's nothing that's more powerful than a contract with yourself. Entering into a contract with yourself, you keep it when no one's looking. You get to choose what goes in there, but you have to keep it. And it's like, it's kind of your foundation stone of, I don't know. I don't know what it is, accountability.
No, that's, yeah, because I think the accountability aspect is just, it's huge. And until we are accountable, I like to say it like this, until we're accountable to ourselves, we'll never be accountable to anyone. Like we just can't. So
True.
what you mentioned something, I believe you said something about potential or what's inside, right? How do you strategize and help people to maybe realize and unlock that potential?
Yeah, man. It's through self-inquiry. So through questioning. So through open questions. So someone will work with me, someone will come to me and they'll say, I want to be more confident. Right? That's quite a common one. I want to feel confident. Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. What is confidence, right? What is confidence? Because it's different to everyone. What is it? Where does it show up for you? When do you think you're not confident? So we start to look at it. We start to assess the situations. And then within those situations, we start to assess, well, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And how are you acting? It's always those three things, right? This is the Bob Proctor. This is my influence of Bob Proctor. Thoughts, feelings, and actions and results. But what normally happens is we look at results and we're always about the results. The results aren't right. The results aren't right. Well, actually, let's bring it back. So the strategy really is thoughts, feelings. It's bringing awareness to it's viewing it. It's being able to consciously view your own subconscious thoughts, feelings, and actions. So that kind of the first step is acknowledging that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of thoughts. So let's just take that one little shift. And that's what we do in the coaching space. We bring it out into the space. There's no judgment, and there's the client is able to see themselves without judgment. They're not in their old story. They don't have all their own stuff. They're allowed to step out and just see it for what it is. Okay, cool. So this is what we're dealing with. No judgment, compassion, no judgment. And then when you're able to see things kind of not through your usual, when you can see your own stuff, not through your usual lens, which is where a coach helps you, because you hear back your own stuff. You hear back your own thoughts without judgment. You see it very clearly. Then you can make very clear, concise decisions. Okay, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Okay, well, what do I want to shift here? So the confidence thing, it's like you start to, I get nervous when I'm doing presentations. Well, what happens? Yeah, what are the thoughts? Oh, the thoughts are, what are these people thinking of me? So then we'll explore that. Well, how do we know what someone's thinking of us? Well, I know we never really do. So it's just all these subtle things. So I think the real method is bringing conscious awareness to our own subconscious, because I got fascinated in this idea that for 95 to 99% of our day, we're operating on a subconscious level. Most of what we do, we're just not, we don't need to think about it. We learn something and then it plays over and over again. So it's using that knowledge to your advantage. It's leveraging it.
And there's a lot to unpack, and there's going to be a lot to unpack in this episode. I'm really enjoying this, man. So I read something, and I think this is a great lead in for this. You said something about the concept of discovering a superpower within.
Yeah.
Can you dive into that a little bit?
We've got so much. I just don't think we understand the mind. We're not taught this stuff, right? I feel like I've had to learn this in my 40s. I've had to unlearn and then relearn, and it's amazing. But like we should be taught this stuff as children. We should be taught about awareness and mindfulness and conscious and subconscious. And so I suppose the superpower within, ultimately, it's the fact that you've got the choice. You get to choose like who you want to become. I know that sounds grandiose, and I know that sounds a bit fanciful, but like the superpower is you get to choose how your life goes, but you have to choose. And with that comes responsibility, and it's not easy. It doesn't mean it's suddenly everything's easy, but pretending you don't have a choice is also a choice. Like, so to me, it's a superpower, because I've only discovered this how much potential that people have got I believe everyone has got inside of them dormant potential that is unlimited. And the reason it's unlimited is because you can't put a boundary on it. You can't put specifications on it. Its potential is idea, potential is thought, potential is it's thought energy. It is the power of mind, and there is nothing that cannot be conceived of in the mind. And everything that's ever happened in human history first happened in the mind. It had to happen first in someone's mind before it came, before it came to life. So by that extension, the creative potential of the human mind, everyone's human mind, I think is unlimited. And I think that's a superpower.
Listen, when I read it, I kind of, in my mind, I said, you know what? I said, I think, at least for me, I think it's a superpower just knowing that we have the ability to discover a superpower within us, right? I think it's kind of it, because I don't think we ever want to take ourselves to that area that we even think of ourselves. At least, I mean, there are some people that do, right? But I think for most people, we feel like we're average. And we live to this, structure of being average. And I think we need people like you and others who make us think and start to think about, and you know what, be proud of it, right? And the hell with it. You know what? I can have a superpower, right? I think that's part of it. Tom, this has been fantastic stuff. And I kind of wanted to end with this, because I think for most people, they are feeling stuck. And I think at the start of a new year, they feel like, you know what, this is my year to get unstuck, or I'm going to make a change and change my life. So what advice would you give someone who they're feeling stuck and they think they're unable to make a significant change in their life due to constraints, whether they're real or conceived? What would you say to them?
I'd say if you think you can't make changes, then you're right. I'm not going to convince anyone of you're right. If you think you can't, you're going to prove yourself right. If you want to make changes, you can make changes. You can always make changes. Subtle changes. So to answer the question, the subtlest shifts can have the most profound impact. So if someone's feeling stuck and feeling disempowered and feeling, and I totally understand it, because like you say, we are kind of taught that we are average. Mm-hmm. We aren't shown how much potential we have, and we believe that and we identify with it. Man, this is like, I can't convince anyone of anything. You have to know why you want to change. You have to get in touch with, why do you feel stuck? What do you actually want? Because it's easy to know what we don't want. It's easy to know it's not this. So what do you want? And it comes back to this idea of, okay, well, who am I becoming? If I could map it out, if I could choose what's important to me, I know what I don't like. That's good. That's always a good start. I know what I don't like. I'm going to find out what I do like. You can make changes. You can start this moment, right? You can start today. You can start right now. You can say, I'm going to make one change, just one, and I'm going to do it for 30 days. And it doesn't matter what that change is, right? Pick something that's easy and tangible, and make a contract with yourself, with your future self, who deserves to feel better than you feel right now, and knows, your future self knows more than you do. So pay attention to them. Make a contract with your future self that you're going to honor, and pick one thing, pick one habit, and say, I'm not going to do this for 30 days, no matter what it is, right? And it doesn't matter how small that habit is. I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to do it, whatever it is. It can be as small as, I'm going to drink a glass of water when I get out of bed every morning, right? Mm-hmm. I'm serious. It can be that small. Mm-hmm. What that does is, for 30 days, you're keeping your word. You're getting in touch with, this sounds very small, but it's huge. You're getting in touch with yourself. You're kind of opening a channel of you're opening a connection with yourself. And this is a proof of concept to say that you can do what you say you're going to do. I know it's a ridiculously small example, but it's a proof of concept. And once you start to realize that you are in charge of how your day goes to a certain degree, you can then start to play with that. You can start to get very intentional, very decisive, very deliberate, and you can decide, what do I want to let go of? What do I want to add? So nothing will change immediately, but you won't feel stuck because you'll have taken action. You've taken one little action. I don't know, man. That's probably a nice place to start. It's pretty accessible.
I love the simplicity in it, man. And I think that's a great way to start. I mean, well, look, I'll say this, we have to start somewhere, right? It's just a matter of, you have to start. So you have to start somewhere. And the good a time as any is to start right now.
So I was 215 pounds. I drank alcohol every week for 25 years, because in the UK, right, alcohol is a big thing. I had chronic back pain. I've got 2 crushed vertebrae in my spine. I was out of shape, unfit, unhealthy, no strength, no body strength. I did a 10-second plank. You know, the plank where you get your toes and your elbows on the floor. Mm-hmm. And then the next day I did a 20-second plank. Then the next day I did a 30-second plank. I did it for 30 days. And by 30 days, I was up to 5 minutes. And I'm now on day 755 or something of a 5-minute plank every day. And that's 5 minutes out of 24 hours. I've lost 50 pounds. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I'm fitter, healthier, stronger than I've ever been. That started with a 10-second plank. So, I mean, that was what I needed. That was what I could do to start making progress.
That's a fantastic example. I'm really glad you shared that. So thank you for that. Where can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you online? Anything you got going on you want to let people know about?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm Tom Godfrey, Mindset Coach on LinkedIn. I've got some one-to-one sessions, one-to-one journeys starting this month. I'm working on three core pillars of confidence, decision, and focus. But you can just reach out for a chat. I'm happy to chat. I've met some amazing people on LinkedIn, such as yourself, Charles, and I love meeting new people and chatting. So just hit me up in the DMs and say hi, and you never know where the conversation is going to go.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that I tell people with this podcast, I think I continue to do this now. This is year 3. I continue to do it because selfishly, I'm probably learning as much or more than they are from listening. So I love learning and speaking to guys like yourself. Tom, I can't thank you enough. It's been a privilege, honored to have you on, and looking forward to staying connected with you throughout 2024, continuing to watch your journey. And I'm glad we connected. So I'm glad everyone tuned in. Thank you all for the support, and take care. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
This has been the Bare Essentials. Thanks for listening. And remember, never hibernate on your goals.